a ton of snaps in this preseason, and let's see what he can do. But the idea that they're trying to sabotage him is so stupid that I just can't even, I'm just done. I can't even wrap my head around it. And to try and to manipulate what he said into some idea that he didn't want, or that they didn't want.
Is the NFL quietly trying to erase Deion Sanders' legacy by going after his son? Because what's happening to Shedeur Sanders right now doesn't make sense. He's outplaying veterans in training camp, showing up early, working late, and flashing real QB1 talent. But instead of rising through the ranks, he's being buried on the depth chart. 4 reps a day. That's not just an oversight, that's a message. And according to some of the loudest voices in sports media, this might not be about football at all. This might be personal.
He could be speaking to the city of Cleveland as if to say, don't blame me for this one. That is the man that gave Deshaun Watson guaranteed $230 million, which right now is going down as arguably the worst trade in NFL history.
It all started with a spark at training camp, one that should have changed everything. Shedeur Sanders was electric, quick reads, pinpoint throws, poise under pressure. He wasn't just good, he looked like the best quarterback on the field. Coaches noticed, teammates noticed, the fans definitely noticed, and yet he kept sliding further down the depth chart. Instead of being rewarded for his performance, Shedeur found himself behind less experienced QBs like Dillon Gabriel. Rumors started swirling. Was this just part of the rookie process, or was something deeper going on? It didn't take long for analysts to raise their eyebrows. Jason Lloyd called it out first. Then came Louis Riddick. Then Stephen A. Smith. All of them asked the same question. Why is a quarterback with this much talent being benched? And more importantly, why does it feel intentional?
What kind of long jump Carl Lewis leap are we making here? They traded up to wreck his career. That's how diabolical the Browns are. They traded up so that they could say, screw the Sanders family. We're going to show him. We're going to run them all into the ground. What he's very clearly saying for anybody with a lick of common sense is when they left the building Friday night, when he kept falling and kept falling and kept falling on Saturday, regardless of whose decision it was to move up to get him, as an organization, they made the decision to move up to get him, not because they're trying to tank this poor kid's career, because they have a job open at quarterback.
Suddenly, this wasn't just about depth charts and playbooks. This was about politics, pride, and power plays behind closed doors. Because if Shedeur Sanders can light up a practice field and still get ignored, someone high up is making sure he stays invisible. At first, it was just whispers. A few analysts raising subtle concerns. A couple of reporters asking the right questions. But then, Jason Lloyd dropped the gloves, accusing the Browns of intentionally holding Shedeur Sanders back. He didn't mince words. He said it looked like sabotage. And suddenly, the silence around Shedeur's situation cracked wide open. Louis Riddick followed suit, tearing apart the Browns' handling of the rookie quarterback. He called the situation a cover story, exposing how Shedeur was barely getting reps in practice, just 4 snaps a day. That's not just neglect. That's deliberate.
And to try and to manipulate what he said into some idea that he didn't want, or that they didn't want him. Like, I just don't understand how you can make that.
Then came Stephen A. Smith, and he brought the fire. He accused Browns owner Jimmy Haslam of using Shedeur as a scapegoat. Not because of his talent, but because of who his father is. Stephen said it flat out. This wasn't football. This was payback. The whispers had become a roar. And the more people looked at the facts, the more it felt like Shedeur wasn't just being overlooked. He was being targeted. Because when multiple respected voices in the game are all calling foul, you have to ask, who's really pulling the strings in Cleveland? If there's one name at the center of this storm, it's Jimmy Haslam.
He could be speaking to the city of Cleveland as if to say, don't blame me for this one. That is the man that gave Deshaun Watson guaranteed $230 million, which right now is going down as arguably the worst trade in NFL.
The Browns owner casually told reporters he wasn't even thinking about drafting Shedeur Sanders. Just a throwaway comment, until you realize the weight behind it. Haslam's words weren't just dismissive, they were loaded. This is the same man who gave Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed $230 million deal. Now, widely considered one of the worst trades in NFL history. His judgment is already under fire. So when he brushes off a quarterback like Shedeur, who's been grinding every day and outplaying his competition, it doesn't feel accidental. It feels calculated. And the timing? Even worse. Shedeur wasn't taken until the 5th round. An insult for a QB with his skill set. Some now believe Haslam played a key role in that slide, using his influence to keep Shedeur's name off the radar.
We picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur. I would say that's not happening. But we had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur.
Why? Some say it's about ego. Others say it's about Deion. But one thing is clear. Haslam isn't just a passive owner in this. He's at the center of decisions that don't make football sense. And if his intent was to keep Shedeur sidelined, it might just be working. For now. If there was any doubt this controversy had crossed the line, Stephen A. Smith erased it. He didn't tiptoe. He didn't sugarcoat. He looked straight into the camera and called Jimmy Haslam a coward. Said his comments about Shedeur Sanders weren't just irresponsible. They were calculated. According to Stephen, this wasn't some innocent slip. It was a transparent attempt to deflect blame and protect his ego. And the worst part? Stephen believed it had nothing to do with Shedeur's talent and everything to do with sending a message to Deion Sanders. This wasn't a football decision, he said. This was personal.
Understand what's going on here. That's why Haslam was in his car on a Friday talking about, I can't see it happen.
Stephen laid it out like a chessboard. Haslam wasn't punishing the rookie quarterback. He was taking a shot at the father. A power move. A warning. And Shedeur? He was caught in the crossfire. Not because he failed, but because someone didn't like the name on the back of his jersey. It was bold, it was public, and it hit hard. Because when one of the most influential voices in sports media says a team owner is using a young player to settle a personal score, you don't brush that off. You pay attention. After weeks of silence, Deion Sanders finally stepped forward. And when he spoke, it hit different. He wasn't loud, he wasn't angry, he was calm, composed, and heartbroken.
Hey man, he's unflappable. We have been through so much as a family, as athletes, that he is prepared for everything. The only thing that really hurt me, when they started the line and saying he wasn't prepared or he was this or he came in with headphones on. I know my sheep. I know my son. I know what I raised. I know better than that. Shedeur ain't never.
During a quiet moment in training camp coverage, Coach Prime opened up about what this situation was really doing to his son. He made it clear, Shedeur isn't just ready. He's over-prepared. Years of discipline, family pressure, and high-level competition have molded him into someone built for this. But watching him get overlooked, Deion admitted, has been painful. And then came the gut punch. Shedeur told his own father not to come to camp. Why? Because he was barely getting reps. Just 3, maybe 4 a day. He didn't want his dad to see him sidelined, ignored, humiliated. Deion said, I know my son. I know what I raised. He's ready. But this is wrong. This wasn't just about a quarterback anymore. It was about a father watching his son fight through silence, politics, and passive-aggressive sabotage. And for Deion Sanders, the man who made a career out of being unstoppable, that was the hardest thing to witness.
One, he has to have opportunity.
He got opportunity.
To do that. Well,
He got opportunity.
His own father said he didn't want him to come to training camp because he doesn't get any reps. Okay? His own father said he doesn't want me to come to training camp because he said, Dad, I'm getting maybe 3 or 4 reps of practice.
But even in his pain, there was pride. Because Shedeur never complained. He just kept working. 4 reps. That's what Shedeur Sanders gets in practice. On a good day, it was Louis Riddick who dropped the number, and it stopped the conversation cold. 4 reps a day for a quarterback who lit up college football, who showed flashes of elite potential, and who is outworking the veterans around him. That's not development. That's dismissal. Riddick wasn't just frustrated, he was furious. Because in the NFL, late-round picks already face long odds. The only way they make it is if someone inside the building fights for them, stands up, puts their name on the line. But when Riddick looked at the Browns, he didn't see a single person doing that for Shedeur. Worse, no one even knows who made the call to draft him. Andrew Berry? A quiet nod from someone in the back office? There's no champion, no advocate, no clear voice saying, this kid belongs. And in this league, if no one's backing you, you get buried. To Riddick, it wasn't just a lack of reps, it was a lack of belief. And if that doesn't change soon, Shedeur won't just be benched, he'll be forgotten. Unless something gives, let's be honest, this doesn't feel like coincidence anymore. Shedeur Sanders didn't just fall in the draft. He dropped all the way to the 5th round. For a quarterback with his resume, his poise, his performance under pressure, that drop wasn't normal. It was engineered. And that's exactly what some insiders are starting to suggest. Stephen A. said it outright. They came after Deion by targeting his son. And the theory gained traction fast. This wasn't about talent. It was about legacy, about ego, about punishing a father who dared to shake up the system, speak his mind, and challenge tradition. So how do you hit him where it hurts? You bury his son before he ever gets the chance to shine. Whispers inside the league claim certain GMs deliberately passed on Shedeur, not because of flaws, but because of his last name. He didn't fit the narrative. He didn't play the politics. And for some, that was enough. Because if you can't break Deion Sanders, maybe you can break the one person he's fought hardest to protect. And that's not just business. That's personal. At first, fans were confused. Then they got curious. Now they're furious. Social media lit up with clips from training camp. Fans saw Shedeur threading tight passes, leading huddles, commanding attention. The talent was obvious. But the snap count, the bench status, it didn't add up. And the more people watched, the more they started asking the same question. What is Cleveland doing? Comments flooded in. Why isn't he starting? What did this kid do wrong? Are they seriously giving Dylan Gabriel more chances? And that's when the anger really kicked in. Because fans aren't just seeing a young QB get overlooked. They're watching a system that seems rigged. They're watching a player punished not for his performance, but for his bloodline. And whether they love Deion Sanders or can't stand him, they know this isn't how you treat talent in a league desperate for quarterback help. Now every snap Shedeur doesn't take is another strike against the Browns front office. The spotlight is on. The excuses are wearing thin, and the pressure, it's just getting started. At this point, the Browns have a choice. They can keep playing games, burying talent, and spinning narratives, or they can wake up and realize what they have in Shedeur Sanders. Because every day he sits on the bench, the noise grows louder. From analysts, from fans, from inside the league. This isn't just about depth charts anymore. It's about credibility. It's about trust. It's about whether the Browns are willing to invest in the future or let personal grudges destroy it. Deion Sanders has done his part. He's raised a leader, a fighter, a quarterback who's prepared for the storm. And Shedeur, he's stayed silent, focused, and relentless, waiting for the moment to prove them all wrong. But here's the truth. That moment is coming, whether the Browns are ready or not. Because when talent is undeniable, when work ethic is unmatched, and when public pressure becomes impossible to ignore, change doesn't just happen. It erupts. The Browns can either be part of Shedeur Sanders' rise or the story of how they tried and failed to stop it. Either way, the clock is ticking.